Andy, Labour Mayor of Greater Manchester, and somebody who's facing the upcoming by-election in Makerfield on the 18th of June, has declined to describe Israel's actions in Gaza as a genocide.
Hi, I'm Liam from the Political Whiz team, and this is Sarah Dallal. She works for the Turn Left social media channel. Apparently, she's an expert on identifying genocide and a paid-up member of the Genocide Police.
In an interview with The Guardian, Burnham was asked directly about Gaza, and he responded with, "I can't judge things of that enormity from where I am as Mayor of Greater Manchester." What? What do you mean? You have opinions on other things, but you can't have an opinion on this? Make it make sense. He went on to say that he had concerns about the disproportionate destruction and that there needs to be investigation and accountability. But this raises a pretty big question. If not now, Andy, then when?
Well, Sarah, how about when there's an international legal consensus on the subject and not just a bunch of people with opinions? Andy used the word judgment for a good reason, because the jury isn't out yet. Not by a long shot.
Because we're not talking about an event that happened, just 24 hours ago. We're not talking about an allegation that has emerged without any sort of evidence. We're talking about nearly, 3 years of devastation on top of the 70 plus years of what's been happening with Israel and Palestine. Mass death, huge amounts of displacement, starvation, destruction of civilian infrastructure, kids literally dying. A 7-month-old baby recently killed by an IDF soldier. 7-month-old baby, and repeated warnings from international legal experts, humanitarian organisations and genocide scholars say that this is a genocide.
Yes, war is terrible and, unfortunately, may involve war crimes. But warnings are not judgments. In fact, they exist to prevent the crime they warn of from taking place. You have not produced a proper argument for attacking Andy here.
Where Israel has killed at least 72,000 Palestinians there since the 7th of October 2023, and experts quoted by the BMJ say the actual toll is probably far higher. So the question isn't whether Andy Burnham personally has the authority to make a legal ruling. He doesn't, but why is it that he's not okay with condemning it? He's
moving the goalposts much. 1 minute you're having a go because he wouldn't call it genocide, but now you're conceding his point but moaning that he won't condemn Israel's actions. Surely calling it disproportionate is a strong enough international level value judgment from a politician about to run in an election. Sounds pretty solid to me.
Perfectly comfortable condemning atrocities elsewhere, but suddenly becomes incredibly paralysed by uncertainty when the victims are Palestinians. The language is odd. We're told it's a little bit too complex, that he doesn't have the authority to do that because he's all the way in Manchester, by the way, super massive trek. We're told investigations must conclude, we're told that history will decide, we're told that we cannot know, it's simply too hard to tell, etc, etc. All of this elusive, pathetic language, yet I think we're pretty much aware because we've listened to testimonies, we see the lived experiences of those who are actually there. Palestinians know. They're the ones whose parents are carrying the bodies of their children, and the doctors literally trying to make amputations without any sort of anaesthetic, and the aid workers who are documenting all the starvation and the blockades that are happening out there. And you know who else knows? Many of the world's leading genocide scholars believe they know too.
Yes, and I'll reiterate, war is terrible, but the key point to determine genocide is actual intent to do so. It is not easy to establish intent with Gaza because Hamas built its military installation under the city, giving Israel a caveat. Hamas is potentially just as responsible as Israel. All those genocide scholars are producing a non-legally proven opinions.
Here, the International Association of Genocide Scholars declared that Israel's committing genocide in Gaza. Genocide scholars cited, among other elements, Israel's attacks on Gaza's healthcare, aid and educational sectors. They say Israel is committing a genocide, full stop.
And that is an unsubstantiated opinion. You don't establish guilt of genocide on actions but on proof of intent, otherwise the Allies would have been guilty of that crime in World War II. It doesn't matter what is said on this subject until a qualified international court rules on the subject. And, as explained, there's at least one obvious barrier to there being a genocide ruling.
Now, whether one agrees with that assessment or not, with all due respect, this is not some fringe opinion. These are people whose their whole life's work is studying genocide.
This would have more weight if it wasn't true that only 24% of all genocide scholars have opted for a guilty verdict.
These are experts who've dedicated decades to understanding exactly how mass atrocities unfold and how states justify them. But I don't think we need a scholar. with all due respect, to tell us that genocide is happening when we see the onslaught of violence that's happening in Gaza. Yet we have here politicians, or people who want to then become politicians like Andy Burnham, continue to act as though none of this matters. The word genocide is not simply, a legal term. This is a question of morality, because it forces people to confront the scale of what is actually taking place. And what I'm really uncomfortable with is the fact that he is so comfortable going, sorry, can't do it. I can't say it. I can't say the word genocide.
This is a horrible thing to say about anyone, and it suggests an underlying manipulative purpose of this video. Not a single Labour politician has said that what is happening in Gaza doesn't matter, but they do not need to make a legally unsupported accusation of genocide, which absolutely is a legal term, to express concern and anger at Israel's actions.
So what happens, Andy, when an entire population is subjected to relentless destruction whilst the world watches? What also makes Burnham's comments notable is his long relationship with Israel. Burnham joined Labour Friends of Israel in 2015, described the BDS movement as spiteful, quote unquote, and even stated during his Labour leadership campaign that Israel would have been his first foreign visit had he become Prime Minister. Got that from Navarra, by the way. Burnham previously described Israel as a democracy that has a long history of protecting minorities and promoting civil rights. Gosh, I don't really know what to say about
This is journalistic time dilation, taking a quote from 2015 and pretending it's fresh. This was said during his 2015 leadership bid. He has since modified his stance, expressing strong concerns regarding civilian casualties, calling for immediate ceasefires, condemning illegal West Bank settlements, and advocating formal recognition for Palestine.
that. I actually don't know what to say about that. People can judge for themselves whether that description stands comfortably alongside the reality we've witnessed in Gaza over the last several years. To be fair, I'm not a Burnham backer, I will just say that. Burnham has not occupied exactly the same position as Keir Starmer throughout this crisis, I will say that. In October 2023, alongside Sadiq Khan and Anas Sarwar, he broke with Labour's leadership and called for a ceasefire. He has criticised settlement expansion. He's supported recognition of a Palestinian state. And, that matters because they distinguish him from some figures in the Labour Party. But, big but, there is a broader problem, because if you refuse to call what's happening there a genocide, then do I actually believe you are really critical of what's happening with what's happening in Gaza? Do you actually care, or are you saying things to kind of just get people on side? Because again, what the hell do you mean I can't judge things from here as Mayor of Greater Manchester? You certainly can, Andy. Just call it out and judge it.
So, here we have it again. You don't really care unless you stick your neck out on the international stage and declare genocide. This is lower school gang initiation level stuff. Or, if you prefer, tribalism. You aren't good enough or left-wing enough unless you say the special word. It has less to do with supporting Palestine and more with othering the bad gang. It's dangerous because, despite their many faults, Labour is our primary protection against a hard right takeover in 2029. The Greens can't gain the seats, and a centre and left coalition without Labour contribution would be too small to beat a far-right alliance. We need a strong Labour to win in 2029. So cut the playground tactics, Sarah, and begin to find ways to compromise and to fix Labour. And Andy as Prime Minister may be a big step towards doing this. I will sign off with the legal definition of genocide, which, as I explained earlier, is specifically a legal term and not open to general discussion. According to the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, Article 2, in the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent, I will say that again, with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial or religious group. As such, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. None of these actions, together or on their own, constitute genocide without legally accepted proof of intent. At present, no unqualified evidence of intent on Israel's part has been identified. Also, things like Hamas's admission of planned human shielding and Israel's allowing of 3 ceasefires and other humanitarian concessions swing the balance of proof away from clear intent. The best advice I can give is to check everything new, even if you trust your source, and watch out for the bots and trolls.